Ron is here tonight with new masking tools in PI, PixInsight. Next, sounds good? Okay. Next week, while the whole TAIC team is going to be telling us about, kind of how we did. Hope you guys will be here to tell us how we're doing. Give us ideas about where we need to go in the future and things like that. That'll be about 10, 15 minutes, something like that. And then Mac Imaging is going to go next. Scoury is going to come in and tell us about what she's learned about Mac imaging through the years and how to use software for the Mac. And then Alex is going to do a little short. That's me. Alex is going to do a little short about off-axis guiders, how to set them up, how to use them, what they do, things like that. Bob Denny will be back, and then Adam Block is asked to be back here. He's got to tell us some new things he's learned out about stretching, found out about stretching. I don't know exactly what the right exact title is. But then, and then we'll have some stuff about focusing. John Hayes returns. He hasn't been for a couple of years, and he wants to get back into this kind of stuff, so that's cool. We do have some openings coming up, June 30th, August 6th, August 13th. We need you guys to fill that in. So please hit the old contact button and tell us what your last name is and your first name is. Give us your email. Tell us what you want to talk about. We need people to present on this. This is your channel. It's a little different than all the other thousands of astro imaging channels out there, because you get a chance to ask questions. You get a chance to volunteer to come in to participate. It's your channel as much as ours. So we hope that you can take advantage of it. One of the things you can do is you can say hi to all your buddies over here in the chat group and find out what all this stuff's about over here. So hi, everybody. And you can ask your questions over there. Every once in a while, we'll interrupt the speaker and say, hey, so-and-so's got a question and wants to know of such and such, and you can get that answered. You can't do that on most imaging channels. Congratulations to us. We've hit 15,000. I don't think that was true last time we met, but we're way all the way up to 15,100. And that was one of our goals. So congratulations. And, there's one other thing I want to point out. One of the reasons we're with Ron here, Nightfall 2023 is coming up in November 9th through 12th. And I want to tell you, it's a pretty cool star party out in the desert in California, at a hotel resort, stuff like that. But one of the cool things about it is that Ron will be doing a presentation there. So if you've never been to Nightfall, please make your plans to come here, and you will get to meet Ron in person, the very person Ron, assuming something doesn't get him again this time. Speaking of get him again this time, Ron, it's your turn to present, so I am going to stop my sharing, and if you could start yours and tell us about these new masking tools you've got to tell us about.
Thanks, Alex. 3 times lucky, right, on Nightfall?
Yeah, first we had COVID and then another COVID, yeah. Anyway,
first time
we back.
Pandemic. Second time was a freaking heart attack. Third time lucky. I will be there in November, and I'm looking forward to it. Okay, let me share my screen. And what I want to do tonight is start with a slide presentation and then do a demonstration. So we're going to be talking about mask making tools in PixInsight. And I think of these as stencils for painting your deep sky images. So the subtitle here is Making Stencils for the Sky. I've been imaging since 2006 or so. This picture shows me in a very happy moment in my observatory. I love to write and I love to teach. So I'm a contributing editor for Sky and Telescope. You can watch out for my article coming up on PixInsight Workflow, and another one on NINA, Nighttime Imaging and Astronomy Software for Acquisition. I'm an associate editor for Amateur Astronomy magazine, and I do a lot of tutoring, both one-on-one and through workshops with masters at PixInsight.com. If you haven't been to mastersofpixinsight.com, check it out. There's a lot of good free stuff there, and you might find just what you're looking for to help you with PixInsight. I'm also a PixInsight Ambassador, very proud to be with the likes of Warren Keller, and Adam Block in that group. If you want to reach out to me, you can find me at rbrecher@rogers.com and my website, astrodoc.ca. So I want to talk about what are masks and why are they useful. We're going to talk for a couple of minutes about traditional mask making tools. And then we're going to talk about some of the more recent mask making tools, some scripts and some new processes. And I'm going to show you where to find them and how to install them, how to use them. So what are masks? I've already basically let the cat out of the bag there. They're basically stencils for your astrophotos. And usually they're just a black and white image, although you can use a color image as a mask. Usually it's easier to just think in black and white when you're thinking of masks. So just like a stencil, they allow you to paint some parts of the image while protecting others. Black protects and white selects. So the mask is shown on the left here, and the black regions are not going to get affected by whatever I do next. The white regions are going to get affected, and the gray regions around the edges are going to get slightly affected. Now, when you put a mask onto an image, the placeholder for the mask shows as red. So I always think black protects, white selects, but when that mask is in place, red protects and clear selects. So whatever you can see through that red mask is going to get hit by whatever you do next. So that's what a mask is. And another cool thing is anytime you make a mask, you're really making two masks, because you can invert any mask to swap the selected versus the protected regions. So on the left, we've got our mask from the preceding slide, and on the right, I've just inverted the mask. So whereas on the left, the galaxy would get affected by whatever I did next, on the right, the galaxy would be protected from whatever I was going to do next. Masks don't need to look good, they just have to work well. So people get really obsessed about whether their masks look like the object they're trying to image. I often have my mask look very different than the object that I'm masking. So don't worry about whether your mask looks good. Worry about whether it selects and protects the regions that you want to highlight or protect properly. So there's really two traditional mask making tools. If you go back about, say, a couple of years in PixInsight, we really had two, arguably a couple more. So there was the StarMask tool, which is shown on the left, and that was really good for isolating stars. Kind of complicated to use, but you know, with being complicated also comes a lot of flexibility. If you could learn to master this, it's a pretty good tool. The RangeSelection tool we also had for selecting broad ranges of black and white, and I'll show you both of these tools in a moment. I said arguably there was another one, CloneStamp, which could be used for painting an image, but it was a little bit clunky to use if you're trying to use it for making a mask accurately. So I didn't really include it here. But when we get into, say, since 2021, we've got 3 new categories of improved masking tools. And by the way, this was a complaint about PixInsight in the past, was that PixInsight didn't provide a lot of options for making masks. In fact, it provided really the 2 that I showed you. But now we've got 5 other options that I want to show you for just making star masks. And another type of mask that we sometimes want to do is a color mask. So this is a mask where instead of selecting by brightness or whether something's a star or not, we select color ranges. So for example, maybe I want to make a mask that's going to select the blue and reject everything else so that I can enhance blue spiral arms in a galaxy. And the third type of updated mask making tool is a really cool tool called the game script. GAME stands for It's an interactive galaxy mask editor. And it's really a tool for making masks based on the shape of things. Very, very useful. So I want to show you all of these tools. Before I go to the demo, I always like to show this resources slide. One of the ways you can really access good information about PixInsight is through Warren Keller's book, Inside PixInsight, which you can get from Springer or Amazon. I don't think it's available at IP for AP anymore. I'm going to have to take that off. But I also have a website with Warren called Masters at PixInsight, and we do workshops. There's subscription videos and a bunch of free primers if you want to have a look at that. And if you're interested in one-on-one tutoring, just contact me by email or on Facebook, or any of the many ways that we all connect to each other. There's good free tutorials at the PixInsight forum and at PixInsight.com's YouTube channel. So check both of those out. Also, I wanted to mention in terms of books, more recently than Warren's book, Rogelio Bernal Andreu, you might know him as RBA or Deep Sky Colors, he published a book in print and online called Mastering PixInsight, not affiliated with Masters of PixInsight, but a really excellent book. Warren, Pete, Prue, and I all have that book, and very complimentary with Warren's book, Inside PixInsight. So if you get a chance, pick that up as well. Okay, so I want to show you a demonstration of some of these tools. So I'm going to get out of my PowerPoint presentation and switch over to my PixInsight screen. And this is an image I'm working on. This is the first night of acquisition through 2 telescopes. Its luminance was captured with a 150 Skywatcher Esprit at f7, so it's around 0.72 arc seconds per pixel. The color data was captured with a one-shot color simultaneously on a Takahashi FSQ 106, so a much lower resolution. But I made the, I scaled it up and made it all work together. So this is what you see here. Excuse me. And this is the very end of the process. So we're going to look at this at various stages of its processing and where and how different masks were made. So I said I would show you the original tools, and the first one is StarMask. Here it is right here. And there's a few different working modes, but StarMask is the default and the best for making a star mask, which is really the main reason why I would use this. You can set the scale of stars. The higher the scale, the more stars that you're going to include. Same with a large scale. The higher it is, the more those large stars are going to grow in the mask. I'm just going to rock with these settings right here. These are my settings, not the default settings. And go ahead and apply it. I'm not going to spend too much time on these traditional tools because, as I'm going to show you, there's some better tools available. One nice thing about StarMask is you can run it on either linear or non-linear files. So before stretching, if you use the same settings, you're going to get just the largest stars. Now you see this StarMask setting actually pulled out part of the nebula. I don't really want that. That's because the scale was so high. If I wanted to avoid that, I would lower the scale. And so that's just a matter of, adjustment, trial and error. And you can use previews to speed things up a little bit. So here I changed the scale from 8 down to 5. And you see we've got less of that centerpiece. I would have to go even lower to get it out. Or I could use another one of my mask making modifying tools, the CloneStamp. There it is. So I click on the image. Oopsie. Click on the image to activate it. Pick a radius that I think is going to be good, maybe 100. click or control click on an area that I want to sample. Right there. And bye-bye. So now that's out of there. So that's how the StarMask works. The RangeSelector tool, I always use it with a real-time preview, and I would only use this on an image that has already been stretched. And I gather you've got Adam Block coming on to talk all about stretching, so he can explain that to you. But basically, it's you've altered the histogram. You've stretched out the dark part of the histogram to make faint structures visible. And when you open a real-time preview, it just looks all white because it's showing you all brightnesses from 0, which is black, all the way up to 1. So since it's showing all possible brightnesses, it's all white. Now, if I want to reduce the bright images that it shows, so make it not show the stars, I just have to pull down the upper limit. See how I can make a mask that's very selective. But what if I want to get that nice ring around the outside? So now I pulled up from the bottom. And there we go. Now I can use the smoothness slider to smooth all that out. And I can go back to my trusty CloneStamp once I've made this mask. Oh, thought I made it. Guess I didn't. Once I've made this mask, I can go back to my trusty CloneStamp and stamp out these regions that I don't want. And now maybe I can enhance the color saturation just in that faint ring. So although those were the only 2 tools that were available, they did do quite a nice job. But these days, there's way better tools available. And the first one that I want to show you is the one that's built into PixInsight. It's called StarNet. To set it up, you'll need to make sure that you have these 2 files, the RGB weights file and the grayscale weights file, properly selected here. And you do that by clicking on the wrench and go to the place where you have those files. You have to download them from PixInsight. In my case, they're in the library file. Here they are. There's the RGB weights file. And I would open that and do the same for the grayscale weights. Once it's all set up, it actually works well and it works quickly. You see it's broken the image into 200 tiles. And I've asked it to create a star mask as well. So not only is it going to make the stars go away from the original image, there it is, but now I have a really nice star mask. It's a color star mask. So one thing I could do is I could put this button up here, which if you read the tooltip, it says it'll extract the brightness component of this stars only image. So I'll click that. Now I have a monochrome star mask. And remember, I can do anything to this mask. I don't want curves. I don't want the screen transfer function. I must have mislabeled that when I made it. I'll just go into curves here in intensity transformation. And I can make those stars bigger and bolder so that I make my mask more efficient. It'll do its job better selecting the stars and protecting everything else. Okay. try to keep my workplace tidy. So I'm going to delete all of that and back up. Now, I don't use StarNet myself. Again, there are better tools available, and one of them is called StarNet 2. If you want to use StarNet 2, you have to download it, and where you will download StarNet 2 is from this page, starnetastro.com/download, and there's the most recent update. And you should be able to find the instructions here as well and install StarNet 2. Back to PixInsight. So StarNet 2, pretty simple to use. It can run on linear files or non-linear files. If it's on a linear file, click this button. Sometimes if it doesn't do a great job, you might upsample the image, take out the stars, and then downsample it again. And if you want to make a StarMask, click on Create StarMask. Now, the nice thing about StarNet 2 is that if you have an NVIDIA video card and you have various CUDA updates installed, this runs really, really quickly. It always produces a stretched image of the stars, and since my image was already stretched, that doesn't look very good. But there's your StarMask, and again, we can extract the luminance to get a black and white version of that mask. And it does a really nice job. Notice that it leaves the galaxies behind. These are galaxies, not stars, if you look at them closely, and they have some pretty cool structure. They look very different than the stars. Okay, that's StarNet 2. I think the best of all, but it's not free, you have to pay for it, is StarXTerminator by Russ Croman. It's available at RC Astro. It also uses your GPU if you have an NVIDIA video card. Also, if you have one of the recent MacBooks with the Apple Silicon, they also use the GPU. So this also runs really quickly. And as I say, you have to purchase it. Why would you want to purchase it versus the other tools? Well, between StarNet 2 and StarXT, both perform really well. In fact, sometimes one will do better and sometimes the other will do better. But StarNet 2, as far as I know, is not being updated, whereas StarXTerminator is being continually improved. So there's my StarNet version, and it did a slightly better job. It took out those faint stars that got left behind, but again, it left the galaxies. Really nice job with StarXTerminator. Okay, undo that again. Now, there is a very prolific script writer, Herbert Bornemann, Herbert Walter. I'm sorry, I'm getting the name wrong. I'm gonna check this correctly. This is a weird situation where one guy's scripts are on another guy's website. So Herbert Walter is hosting Hartmut Bornemann's scripts. And to install these scripts, you need to go to this page. It's skypixels.at, and then find PixInsight and scripts. That'll take you to the page that I'm on right now. If you go to number 1 here where it says add the link, you just want this link right here. So I'm going to control copy that, Command C on a Mac, and back to PixInsight I go. Go to resources, updates, manage repositories, and add that link that you just copied. Now I'm going to cancel out of it because I've already got it in here. Once you say okay, it'll be added to your list of repositories. You can say okay at that point, and then run an update, do a check for updates here. So resources, updates, check for updates. It'll find those updates and install all of the Bornemann scripts. And I want to show you one of them right now. And it's called the Advanced StarMask. It's a script. I'm not even going to open it. I'm just going to drag it onto the image. Done. There's no settings, no nothing. Boom. It just makes you a nice star mask. Another one that I wanted to bring to people's attention is sometimes you're going to want to remove the stars from a linear file. So this file has not been stretched. You're looking at a temporary auto stretch on there. There's this linear StarNet script, and you can execute it in the global context. I do want to show you, you'll find those scripts in your own installation at script, utilities, and they're all in here. So the advanced StarMask is here. The linear StarNet is there as well. I just put them on the desktop for ease of use. So if I execute this in the global context, it asks me what view I want to take the stars out. Do I want to create a new view? Yes, sure I do. And then you've got parameters you can set for. It does a stretch, takes the stars out, and then unstretches the image. So here we go. So there's my starless image. There's the clipping map. I don't generally take the stars out of a linear image, and if I am going to take the stars out of a linear image, I'm really going to use StarNet because it does a brilliant job, whether it's linear like this one or, as you already saw, non-linear, and it works just as well on mono as it does on color images. Got a lot more stars than the linear StarNet. There we go. Maybe not all of them, but most of them. All right, so I'm going to delete that, undo that, put that away. I'm just trying to keep everything tidy. Okay, so that's all of the star masking tools. But sometimes you want, as I mentioned before, you want to select particular colors. So let's take this image here, and so I don't damage it, I'm going to just make a clone, put the original image away. And now I want to show you the ColorMask tool. And let's say that our goal here is to enhance the saturation of the blue, just the blue. Okay, this is easier to do on a starless image. So the first thing I'm going to do is take out the stars. Take too long. And we'll just tuck these stars away. I'll put them back in a little while. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is open the ColorMask script, and I'll execute this in the global context. There's a lot of information here on how to use it, but basically you select the target image and the starting and ending hues, thinking of hues on a color wheel from 0 to 360 degrees. And you don't really need to know how the color wheel works. You can just click on a color that you're interested in. And in this case, we're interested in the blue. So I'm just going to click blue. You'll see that's from 180 to 300 degrees on the color wheel. I like using this in the chrominance mask mode, so it's going to make a mask that highlights that blue for us. And I'll click OK. And it's done a really nice job just selecting the blue. I can put that on here now. And I'll make a little preview so we can look close. I can make that mask invisible, although it's still in place. You can see it's really done a nice job pulling just the blue. And now I can get curves going. Let's reset the tool. And I'll get a real-time preview and watch the blue now. It's gone crazy because I'm doing it to extreme to show you how selective it is for the hue, for the blue hues. Did a really nice job there. Now, I would want to do something a little more sensible, like measure how saturated it is right now and boost it just a little bit without burning it out. Okay, so that's the ColorMask script. If you have a hard time in understanding the color wheel, though, let's just set that. This other tool, this is the enhanced ColorMask script. And again, I have to show you where to get it. So to get this one, what you're going to do is go to the PixInsight forum and search for enhanced ColorMask. And you'll find this thread. And the latest version, or let's say the version that I have, is version 5, mod 5, ColorMask mod 5. Download it and unzip it. And then what you have to do to use that script is go back to PixInsight, go to Script, Feature Scripts, go to the place, or say Add, navigate to the place where you installed that enhanced ColorMask script. That's here for me. Say Select Folder, and it'll find additional scripts if there are any for it to find. Then you can say Done, and when you look under Scripts, under Utilities, you'll find ColorMask Mod. So that's the script that I put on the desktop for myself to show you. And again, I'll execute it in the global context. And this is a greatly improved version of that script. So you can still take the easy way and select on the color wheel. But better yet, now you can actually visualize the color wheel. One of the things I want to point out to you, you know the method of removing magenta stars by inverting the image and then taking the green out, then inverting the image back. That's because magenta over here and green over here are opposite each other on the color wheel. When you invert a magenta pixel, it turns green. So anyway, going back, I want to make a blue mask, but say I don't want this purpley stuff. I can change the start and end values. So maybe I'll only go to 250. So now maybe I won't get these pink regions. I can also set start and end hues by clicking on this thumbnail, which I can zoom in on. If it's an unstretched image, I can enable a screen transfer function. There's so many things that you can do with this version of the script. Okay, I'll go ahead and try this, and this should make, oh, why did we get that? Cannot execute. Oh, can't be executed on previews, sorry. Let's try that again. Boy, if anything will get you in live TV, right? Okay, what was I doing? I changed this down to about 240 or 250. Maybe 250 would be better. I want to make sure I get all the blues at least. There we go. Put that on, have a look at it, and again, we'll go to curves. And we've got the same curve from last time. It really has now limited itself to the blue. I don't know how easy it is for you guys to see this. But it's really just in the blue. The reds and the purples are not getting hit nearly so much this time. Okay, so that is the enhanced ColorMask script. Let's get rid of my clone. And I don't need these masks anymore. And I don't need this anymore. Okay, the game script. The game script is a real game changer. It's a Galaxy mask editor, and it's used for selecting things based on shape. You can do this on linear images or nonlinear images, with or without stars. Again, I like generally to take the stars out before I get into serious mask making and stuff. So I'm going to take the stars out of this image one more time. Goes so fast. I did save the best till last in terms of new mask making tools. So this one was this is one of the Bornemann scripts. So was the ColorMask utility, by the way. And it's called Game. Here it is. And like I said, it really is a game changer. So the way it works, you can select the image up here. If it's linear, you can put an auto stretch on it. You see all my sinful flat dust donuts, but you can't see them in my images. You can zoom in with the plus sign or zoom out with the minus. You can zoom one-to-one with this magnifying glass with a dot in it. One-to-one isn't generally a particularly useful zoom. You can also use your mouse, scroll wheel, which is what I'm doing now. And you can use these zoom and pan controls. Now, the nice thing with the game script is that you can select things that are ellipses. So you can add an ellipse or delete an ellipse, or you can add a multi-point object or delete it. I don't usually use multi-point. I'll show them to you in a minute, but the ellipses are very useful. So we want to add an ellipse, grab hold of it by clicking and holding, and put it where we want. Rotate it to the orientation that you want. Make it the size that you want to select just what you want. That's pretty good right there. Having selected what you want, and by the way, we could select other galaxies that are in this. These ellipses can be really small. And I could put little individual ellipses on all these little galaxies that are in the image. But at any rate, once I'm done, oh, let me show you how to add a multi-point. You really need at least 3 points. So you click 1 point, another point, and a third point. And now this is your shape, but they're kind of hard to work with. I find ellipses generally easier to work with, but sometimes these can be useful. In any case, I'm going to delete that right now. The cool thing here is that you can make up to 6 different kinds of masks with this tool. I'm just going to go ahead and hit OK. And it'll produce all the masks that you've selected, and then the script will close. So let's look at them. This is called a gradient mask. And you can see how it would work. Protecting most of the image. The center of this thing is going to get hit hard, but the outsides of the ellipse are not going to get hit too hard. Okay, take that one off and I'll close it. Here's what's called a star mask. They call this a star mask. And it looks a lot like the gradient mask, but the very brightest parts of the image are darkened so they won't get hit as much. This one is called a brightness mask. And you can see it's not actually going to really be all that useful because it's darkening all these dark lanes that have all the detail that we want in them. So probably we're not going to use that too often. Here's a binary mask. Binary mask selects all the stuff that we want, but its very, very hard edges make it not very useful because you're going to see too harsh a transition between what gets affected and what doesn't get affected. So I don't tend to use the binary mask very much. My go-to mask is this, the gradient edge mask. The gradient edge mask does a nice job selecting what I want to work on, but it has nice, soft edges instead of those hard edges that we had in the binary mask. And if I leave this on for a second, just get that out of the way, make the mask invisible. Well, I can leave the mask visible. Let me go to curves again. So this might be a situation where I want to brighten and add a little color just inside the mask. Let's look at that a little closer. Now that I'm seeing the edge of the mask there, so I have to go back here and be way more gentle. There we go. So that was using the gradient edge mask. The sixth kind of mask is called, they call it a luminance mask. And it has potential to be a little bit useful. It's kind of hard to see there, but here it is. Now what's really going to get hit the most are the dimmer parts of what was selected in the mask. So see, these are actually dark inside the image. So if I make the mask invisible, really hard to see. Let me yeah, you see now it's just the dark areas that are getting affected, and I can.
Ron, could you zoom in a little bit? I'm not sure that's coming across.
Yeah, I can. It's not coming across because it's not doing anything. Just a minute. There we go. So that's just to increase the contrast in these dark areas here. And again, if you look at the mask, right, it's also these dark areas here where the contrast is going to be improved. So there you go. So that's the game script. The game script is incredibly powerful. And the last thing I wanted to mention is that you can always blend two masks that you make to make another kind of mask. So, for example, suppose that I want to work on the background, but not the stars. One thing I might do is invert this image. And remember, we have our stars only here. And I said that I could take the lightness out of that. There it is. Just for ease of math, I'm going to call this one stars. And what we're going to do is some pixel math. So this image that we're looking at right here, the mostly white one, that's the target image, and it has a special symbol in pixel math, $T. So we're going to go $T and subtract the stars. Watch what happens. All stars that were in the image got subtracted. Before, after. So now what I could do is I could reduce the color saturation in the background, and it wouldn't affect the stars or the galaxy. And also remember, I said masks don't have to look good, they just need to work well. I can make this mask way more efficient. There we go. And now I could easily, with a mask like this that you see on the left, I could protect the stars and the galaxy while I adjusted the color saturation of the background sky to be less colorful. So that's where I think I want to stop it. So I'm going to stop sharing, but happy to answer questions.
Yeah, there's a question that just came up. Does denoising the mask provide any benefit? Perhaps create a smoother final background? Oh, sorry. Can you hear me, Ron?
Yes.
Did you hear the question?
No, I didn't really understand the question, no.
Does denoising, I guess smoothing out the background, provide any benefit, perhaps create a smoother final background as far as selecting masks?
I don't use a mask. I don't use a mask for denoising. denoising has a place in my workflow, but really this presentation was just about how to make different kinds of masks to select different parts of images. You can make really good masks either before or after you've removed the noise.
Could the noise in a mask affect the picture?
Yes, but you saw that I think I said I would use a tool like convolution to blur my mask. And I also talked about that in the game script, for example. It doesn't contain any noise. The mask that comes out of that, if you use a gradient edge mask, it has a nice smooth edge. But yeah, you can always blur a mask a little bit. The downside is the more you blur it, the less precisely you're selecting and correcting.
And another question, can't you use a range mask on the mask instead? I guess he's referring to it instead of blurring it.
Maybe try it. If it works, great. Like I said, there's no rules on how you modify a mask after you make it, which is what you're really talking about. You're saying make the mask, then use the RangeSelection tool. Absolutely. Any tool that modifies a mask to make it more effective, it works for me.
Is there any simple way to make a mask on irregular objects, like nebula, where it isn't just a round thing?
Yes. Maybe I'll just share my screen again for a second. And hang on, I gotta select it, share, and then go to PixInsight. All right, let's just close this. And yeah, so again, I would probably do this with the stars taken out. But just use this little button right here, extract the CIE lightness component. And then you can stretch that with curves. The other way you can do it is, again, use your RangeSelector tool. It works really well if you just need to select an unusually shaped object. So let me open, I'm going to open actually do this with the low res just as well. So here's this is the kind of image you're talking about. I would probably take the stars out first, but you don't have to. Use the RangeSelector tool, get a real-time preview, and again, it's always going to open up and look completely white. If I want to select the nebula but not the background, so I'm going to click in the background and see how bright it is. It's at about 0.1 in the red and 0.03 or so in the 0.04, 0.05 in the green and blue. So let's start at 0.04 here. And I don't really want the stars. But I do want the nebula. So kind of like that, and then I'm going to fuzz it out. How's that?
Looks perfect.
And again, if you were concerned about the stars, you could take the stars out of the image and then subtract them from the mask, and you'll get little black holes in the mask. But I don't really think that would be necessary if you're processing the image starless. And again, once you put the mask in place, you might find you've selected a little too much. So you reduce the size of you reduce the selected area in the mask. But if you want more, you increase. And again, you work it from both ends to exclude the stars, to exclude the brightest part of the nebula, perhaps. When that starts to disappear, maybe I've gone too far. Does that answer the question?
I think it does.
Thank you.
While Eric's looking for the next question, make sure he's got them all. I wanted to point out to everybody that we know one of the problems with dealing with Google Meet or any other imaging or meeting software that we've got, that we can only put out information at 720. And in order to actually read sometimes what Ron is typing with on his computer, you would need higher resolution than that. What you have to remember, though, is that you should not be, you know, when you come back tomorrow morning or the next day and you're trying to replicate a little bit of what Ron's doing, you're going to be looking at your screen and you're going to see what those numbers are, so you can take advantage. On your screen, you can see them. You shouldn't try to match exactly what Ron's numbers are anyway, just kind of the concept of what he's doing. We wish we had better resolution, but we just don't get it. So thanks. Well, Eric, where are you?
I'm right here.
Yeah, I just wanted to introduce the tools and the ideas and where you might use a mask, and also some of those tools. So do get them. It's that complaint that PixInsight doesn't have any masking tools. That's old news now. Move along. Nothing to see here.
Okay, thanks, Ron.
Don't be afraid of pixel math.
No, never be afraid of pixel math. Guys, I'm off to my observatory.
Okay.
Hey, good luck. Hey, great night for you, Ron. Let us know how it comes out.
Yeah.
I will. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, thanks, Ron. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Bye.
Next week, we will have our annual review of the year show. We hope y'all come back and give us some ideas. And after that, Gallery's going to tell us a little bit about imaging with the Mac and processing with the Mac, and how you'll find a little bit of difference between the two operations and things like that. And then I'm going to tell you a little bit about lining up your new off-axis guider. And that's it for the night. So it's time for everybody to say nighty-night. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
See you all next week.
Oh,